imagine me, 4 years old. They sit my ass in that psychologist chair. They're saying, Jessica, why do you keep flashing everybody? You can't flash people all day. And I would say, because every time I lift my shirt up, people go, "Whoa!" They give me such a reaction for doing nothing. Yet when boys do the exact same thing, they don't have a reaction. So clearly there's an issue with their reaction, and I need to keep doing it until they're desensitized, and then I won't have to follow unfair social norms because I will have just changed the norm to something that's fair. And for not one even second did they think, damn, that sounds autistic as fuck. Because in their minds, autism meant you weren't able to articulate that you refuse to follow social norms. You just don't. And it has me thinking about how I've been reading all these books about how sexism prevented autism diagnosis in women. And it really makes me realize, like, damn, sexism makes people dumb. Like, imagine thinking that men are the superior gender when anyone who's been raised by a human ever knows their mother was the more competent parent. But, like, their dad taught them that the job she had and was more competent at was easy, yet he still couldn't do it. And people believed this. Like, I was pissed off about sexism from day one. I have this home movie of my brother getting this fucking tool set, this whole big tool set, and I got a baby carriage. And I'm like, I remember it so vividly because my brother's like, my dad's really excited about this toolkit, and him and my brother are playing on it, and I'm like trying to be involved, and I'm not because, you know, I'm a girl, and I'm like with my little baby thing, and I was thinking, why the fuck do I get a toy that cries that I need to take care of, and he gets a toy that makes fun noises when he takes a hammer and smashes it down? This is a problem. When I was in trouble in school a lot, as you can probably tell, and there was this, I was always in the principal's office, and then one time I got called into the principal's office, and I'm like, here we fucking go again, and she had my essay on her wall, and I was like, what the fuck? And I had wrote an essay about why females are obviously the superior gender because, and then I went on to write an entire essay about it. And the teacher put it on the damn wall. And I'm like, so what is it? You like what I think or you hate what I think? Why am you always have me in this classroom so I can't tell all the other kids all my genius ideas. But then when I have a genius idea, you put it on your wall? Do you want me to not tell the other kids this? You don't want them to know. Oh, so you're perpetuating. Like, that's, I really felt like I was born into a prison where everyone is following these very obvious, horrible rules that no one should follow that cause them direct harm. And then they're trying to convince me to follow these rules. And I was like, no, I've read your books. You have no justification for this behavior. Well, just according to the Bible, babe, I've already read the Bible 3 times. And you want to know what version I read? Not the cutesy little kitty version that you gave me. I just think back to all these, every time I fucking listen to this autism book, I'm like, dude, it's so glaringly obvious. I was, because I'm hyperverbal, because I have autism, I was articulating these things as a child. I was arguing with adults over social rules that were unfair and should not be rules that I'm following. Like, I refuse to follow rules that are unfair. Because then I would be behaving unfairly, which is immoral, and I have strong morals. So well, Jessica, you know what? Being a good person means listening to your teacher. No, that's not what that means at all. Have you read the Bible? That guy is a teacher. The God there is a teacher. He literally was telling people to fucking bring their kid up to the top of the mountain and murder them. That's a bad teacher. Well, no, it was a lesson on that you need to obey. Yeah, exactly. And the lesson you learned is to not do that. I want to go hang out with some autistic 4-year-olds and just validate the shit out of them. Actually, I need to find the 4-year-olds that aren't diagnosed autistic. I just want to sit in the back of a kindergarten classroom and I'll just point out all the autistic girls, okay? How did you know she was autistic? She came up to me and said that she's sick of hanging around all these children all the time. That's how I knew. That's how I knew. Because I said to her, babe, you are a child. And she said, no, you don't understand. I am not like them. And then I would say something like, do you like to play with stuffed animals? And she would say, no, because stuffed animals are taxidermied, okay? That's how I knew. I read this one line about this woman who's diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and they were showing how the reason she had complex post-traumatic stress disorder was from undiagnosed autism and being forced to fit into an holistic, life, even though they were obviously autistic. That is so traumatic. Like, having teachers try to convince me to do things that are unfair and irrational, and then them expect me to see them as trusted authority figures that I should think are intelligent. Like, I grew up as a child believing you cannot trust any adult because they're sometimes stupider than children because they're the ones in charge. And children are stupid because it's allowed, they're not allowed to make decisions that harm people. But if you're an adult and you have the authority to harm people and then you choose to be stupid, I think you're stupider than the child because you're not supposed to be. But we need to clock in and figure out how the fuck we're getting all these undiagnosed people. That I really want to focus. I've been saying that for a while, but I really want to focus more on my page. But how are we finding the undiagnosed and letting them know? Because y'all took, what were y'all telling me I was autistic? 3 years? 3 years of my comment sections every day. You're autistic. And I was like, y'all bitches don't even know what the fuck autism is. What are you talking about? And now I'm like, or when it comes to all my physical conditions, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and the such, people will comment this on my posts. I don't know what it is. I'm like, I don't have that. No, this is all normal. How do I know this? No, I know this because medical professionals have told me that this is what I have. And they must be right. Why do you think that, Jessica? Well, I didn't think that, but then they, tortured me, drugged me, strapped me to a bed, and made me believe them because my life depended on it. I wasn't born that way. Definitely wasn't born believing that. But after they inject Halidol in your ass so many times that you lose the ability to speak because your jaw's locked, and then they all laugh at you, all the nurses laugh at you and say, ha ha ha, you can talk, you're choosing not to, after they overdosed you on Halidol like 3 times. And then the second you have your friend come into the hospital who's a recent psych nurse grad, and you write down that you lost your ability to speak because your jaw was locked and you couldn't move your tongue, and they go, that's the exact symptoms of a Halidol overdose. And then they say that to the nurses, and then they start going. I was actually thinking, oh my God, that one of the most abusive times I was ever in the psych ward, I wrote it out. I wrote the bitches' full names. And now I have a platform. So I'm gonna roast the shit out of these bitches. When I'm getting ready to move and I'm like in my storage unit, I'm gonna find my journals from the psych wards and I'm gonna read them to you guys. And the bitches that were violating me and abusing me in Edmonton, sorry. I hope you lose your license. I tried reporting you then, but now I have an army of about 1 million people behind me. And you definitely weren't thinking about that when you were fucking throwing me to the ground and injecting shit in my ass, were you? The other crazy thing is, thinking back, I used to have such a problem with sexism, and like my dad was extremely misogynistic, yet I didn't even know how bad it was yet, because my dad was also a single father who took us to the doctor, cleaned the house, fed us. Like, my dad could take care of a home. So then when I came out into the real world and learned that men didn't know how to do that, and then I would have these men saying to me, like, I'd be dating guys that'd be like, no, women are just naturally better at that, and I'd be like, my dad did this, what do you mean? Like, I was stunned when I found out how incompetent men were, because I knew my dad was a misogynistic prick, and I thought it was gonna get better from there, and in fact it just got worse. Getting diagnosed with autism as an adult is huge, because you think back to every fight you've ever had where you realize that you were just taking what the person was saying literally and the person saying it wasn't. Like, that's what so many of my fights in this world have been about. Is someone says something to me and I take it literally, or I say something to someone literally, and then they assume there's some subtext that I don't know about. And we're arguing simply because if someone would have just stopped and said, Jessica, you're autistic and you take everything very literally, and they're allistic and they take nothing literally and they speak in poems, I would have saved myself probably about 7 years of arguing combined.